This is the review of the Skoda Superb Facelift with a special focus first ride of the Skoda Superb Scout. Let's go! There are three major design changes in the front with the Superb Facelift for all versions. First of all, the front grille gets this dual fin design. First of all, there was just one. And here the Scout especially gets a dark one. Same with the SportLine. I'll soon also show that to you. Then the second change is that the headlamps, they go through as it would be one element now with the front grille. Before that there was basically a gap right there. And new technology, LED is now standard, and optional you can get a matrix LED light and also for a special high beam function. And the third change is the lower spoiler for all versions, and the Scout especially gets a contrast here in silver that looks pretty cool, I think. 4.86 m, 15'9" or 191 inches is the length of the Skoda Superb. And in the side profile the facelift has not changed much. It's just about this Scout version that adds this new styling with the contrasting plastic right here in the side lower, and also the plastic fenders to get this off-road look, together that the suspension is a little bit higher. By the way, if you're more interested in the SportLine, that one is either 50 millimeters lower with the normal sport suspension, or if you go for a DCC, it's 10 millimeters lower. The DCC is standard for the SportLine in Germany, by the way. So far, both for the Estate and the Limousine, you had the Skoda badge right there in the center part. Now there's a Skoda lettering that looks maybe a little bit more posh. Then the tail lamps, they are still in this crystalline shape. Very beautiful work here, also quite sharp elements as for the design language. And the lower bumper has also been redesigned, especially for the Scout, since this version here has not been here before. And I'm not sure if this one is really pretending to be an exhaust. Does it? Maybe it's a transition to a form where they do not even pretend anymore it would be an exhaust. It has those silver contrast elements. Doesn't look too bad. Is this a fake exhaust? Well, of course, it's just a beauty element. The real exhaust is underneath. But I think this still works. Or what do you think? Then inside of the door, soft touch here on the top part. Then there's a new decor element available. This one is a more rather subtle one. For the Scout you can also exclusively get a wood look decor. We also have a shot of those. You can take a look at that. They start with a special seat form as it is right now, but then with fabric. I would recommend the base one. It's cheaper, and then optionally you can get this Alcantara insert. So it also looks fancy. It's giving you a little bit more premium touch to it. But the Scout fabric seats are also pretty cool, and they are keeping a little bit cooler in summer even than the Alcantara, by the way. You know that this one here sits a little bit higher, 50 millimeters, and do you feel it very much while seating? Well, not that much, but the seat itself is really cool. As for the comfort, I somehow prefer the SportLine seat, which is even a little bit wider for taller people. So I'll soon show you that one once more again, SportLine seat. We have that here also on location, but also we had the full review of the SportLine car in another video. We will link that. But this one here is already quite good. So the seating position is really cool, very comfortable. And when I put it in the lowest position with 1.86 m or 6'1", then we still have some headroom left. Although we have the panoramic roof here, if you leave the panoramic roof out, you gain some like this headroom even more. Interior overview with the Superb Facelift, soft touch here at the top dashboard. Then again, I would really go for the matte wood inlet style, visual style for the Scout. That looks really cool. We already seen it with the Kodiaq Scout, for example. Here, a rather subtle look if you prefer that one. There's a huge glove box, by the way, also available, and it's also cooled. Then you either get an 8-inch screen standard without GPS, then the same 8-inch with GPS. And this one here is the top 9.2 inch. This one is without any buttons then. So you can also argue to go for the smaller screen to save money and to have still a physical button. Here everything is done with the capacitive buttons, here with the volume, but you can also control the volume at the steering wheel. That's of course, better solution while driving. CarPlay integration, Android Auto is also available, not wirelessly yet, like with the Passat. They did not receive that update. There you get back to the normal screen right there. This is the home screen. You also have those gesture controls right there in this version then. Base is still analog instruments here for the Superb. Option then this new 10.25-inch digital screen. And I step inside. You can see, this is almost like no other vehicle, and at least of this size. And we have even cars which are way longer. So if you think about like those BMW 5 Series, Mercedes E-Class, Audi A6, which are the same length on the exterior, and then their legroom stops here. And that's what you have here. So, and that is when I'm driving as a tall driver. That's really superb. So headroom here, well, it does still fit for me with this panoramic roof. There is also a rear climate unit available optionally here with colder and also with seat heating if you want that, but it's an option. And 2 more USB supplies in the lower part together with a real power socket. You can open the hatch either with pressing on the key, then you can press it here, or you can use this foot kick opening mechanism. Meanwhile, those systems work very reliable also, you've seen that just. And almost 2,000 liters is the maximum setup here for the capacity if you flip the seats. But this, I also want to show you that here the cover, when I open the trunk, it automatically goes back the first step. So that's a good system. Also rails at the side. When you press twice, it goes even further, and we have put some luggage in here. So as for engines, all 4-cylinder, no matter what you pick. Petrol, diesel and a new plug-in hybrid. So as petrol side, there's a 1.5 TSI, 150 horsepower. Then a 2-liter TSI, 190 or 272 horsepower. Then there's an entry 1.6 TDI, diesel, 120 horsepower, and a 2-liter TDI, 150 or 190 horsepower. The one you can see also right here, together with all-wheel drive, front plus rear, with a Haldex clutch, and also the DSG. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Skoda Superb Facelift, and in this case also the Superb Scout, used iteration then of this one. Again, you might remember it from earlier, 15 millimeters higher from the suspension, no matter if you go for the base suspension or if you go for the DCC, which is equipped with this vehicle. And indeed, with all the Volkswagen Group vehicles, it is recommended to go for the DCC for the adaptive suspension because it definitely delivers more comfort. So driving about 80 kilometers an hour, and it's super silent. The noise insulation is really very well done. And we also show you some acceleration. We can go to the different driving mode. For example, we can go to Sport. Then we have the DSG, the dual clutch transmission, set on lower gear, so we have more acceleration. And let's see, we can drop down to about 60 and then accelerate it out. Let's see what that brings us. Plop, and that's 130 kilometers. So it was 60 to 130 kilometers, and that's quite decent. The car remained relatively silent. All the torque from this diesel was being applied. driving here the top horsepower spec, the 190 horsepower 2-liter diesel, also with the all-wheel drive, so especially in this acceleration situation, also torque is being sent to the rear wheels. It's a front plus rear concept. So, well, and the good thing about the diesel here, especially if you're going for longer runs, we've been here on the motorway, I resetted the consumption meter and I was just using cruise control and keeping it rather calm. So I reset it after our acceleration. And now I can score as low as 4 liters on 100 kilometers. That's of course amazing, especially for a vehicle at this side. The steering is still somewhat soft and you don't need much strength in it. It also depends on the driving mode. But when you have deactivated the lane assist, then you don't have this rather strange or numb feeling in the steering wheel. So again, it's quite soft. It's not super direct, but it still gives you a decent feeling. You see here I have to steer some, yes. Let's see how that difference here when I'm going in sport mode. Yeah, you have more resistance then from the steering wheel in sport mode. Just gets a little bit stiffer. Then, normal mode, yeah, that's softer then. So you can vary that a little bit with the driving modes too. You also have the individual driving mode, for example, when you say, I want to keep it with the calm shifting, but I want a different steering experience. I want the suspension to be set on a certain node. So you can also change that with the individual settings. But I think, you know, this car is not set on a super sporty node. The SportLine has a sporty note definitely, as for suspension and also with the steering input, so that was also pretty cool. Steering wheel definitely, I prefer that one from the SportLine, has this flat bottom, also a bigger grip. This one here also looks a little bit more boring just from the visual perspective, and I think the steering wheel always changes a lot with how you interact with the vehicle. It's where you touch the vehicle literally. So that's why I also like those Alcantara steering wheels, for example, because they make the car more, you know, more responsive to you somehow in a way. You know, that's how I would describe it. Aren't those sunflowers beautiful? Just love to look at them, because if you think about it, they always lean towards the sun and they always smile. Maybe something where we humans can also learn from. And what can we learn from today's review of the Skoda Superb Facelift, and especially here the Skoda Superb Scout? Well, first of all, the big thing about this car is, you know, it's the length, even a little bit shorter than one of the upper mid-size segment vehicles. It's half the price, but it offers more space on the interior. That has remained the same. In other news, a new face, and I think it's a little bit more integrated because the headlamps now lead over to the front grille, and also new technology, new LED technology for the front grille. The new Scout version I think also fits to the vehicle. I like those all-track or all-wheel versions for the cars. It's something more spiced up. It doesn't change anything majorly for the off-road features. Yeah, it's not a real off-road vehicle, but it just looks somehow a little bit more interesting. On the interior, there's in most parts a solid build quality. We've shown you a lot of highlights. Well, here and there maybe they can also upgrade some, but we've shown you all in detail then in the interior part. It was very interesting. Also new seating materials, especially for the lower trim levels. Did not have a chance to take a look at that today, but really looking forward to do that in the future. But also nice seats here with the Scout we have here today, and I personally prefer the SportLine seats. Then also new infotainment system upgrades. Nice software on there. You don't have to go for the biggest one. I think the 8-inch would also do just fine. Driving wise, it's still a very refined and calm experience. Also nice fuel consumption we could score today. Yeah, the lane keeping assist, that could be a little bit more refined. That, for example, was better in the VW Passat facelift recently. So if you ask me, direct comparison, the Passat facelift and the Superb facelift, Passat is a little bit more refined, especially now in a technological sense. They are still very, related, yes. And the Passat all-track, direct comparison to the Superb Scout, the Passat still drives sportier, a little bit more agile, whereas the Superb has more space on the inside. And if you compare this one here against other competitors, you know, it's really hard to pick, you know, a lot of competitors of this car, because depending on, you know, do you compare price, do you compare the platform, or do you compare the interior space? Well, you know, but with the price range, you know, about 25,000 to 40,000, it is still a very decent offering and one of the best price performance vehicles on the market still. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Please also tune in next time and also watch the other videos linked in the video description and in the pinned comment.